Oh, Firewatch. I get it. That's funny.
There are a select few timeless games, books, and movies that we'll go through again every few years with a warm blanket, a cup of hot chocolate, and a dumb smile plastered on our face just because of the stories they tell and the memories they bring.
Not many games are able to stand the test of time like other mediums due to technology and developers still discovering how video games can intentionally become classics.
Created by new developer Campo Santo, Firewatch is a first-person exploration game that takes place in the woods of Wyoming that contains a classic tale that stuck an axe in our hearts.
It is a truly human story that anyone, gamer or not, can enjoy time and time again, similar to a storybook, as odd as that sounds.
Even if you only decide to play it once, Firewatch is a small, heartfelt game that tells a big story. Firewatch takes place a year after the tragic Yellowstone fires of '88.
You play as a man named Henry, who decides to take a job for the entire summer. Your job is to be on the lookout and report any fires, and to do your best to avoid any fires from starting.
Being a lookout, or essentially a cockblock, doesn't necessarily sound like a job that can be entertainingly explored through any medium. This is why Campo Santo deserves a gold star, because Firewatch is proof that you can make any single thing in the world entertaining, or at the very least, make a memorable story out of it.
Being a lookout is fun because of two things, Henry and Delilah. Delilah is your supervisor that you can contact through radio. As characters, Henry and Delilah are normal people going through unfortunate things that people go through.
But the way the two characters communicate with one another is as realistic as video games have ever come to recreating plausible, real-life conversations. The actors for both characters do such an outstanding job in making the delivery sound natural and realistic.
Emotions we felt throughout the whole endeavor ranged from happy, sad, cheerful, scared, compassionate, loving, sexual...
Whoa, sexual? You had sexual feelings while playing this game?
Oh, come on, you cannot argue with me that Delilah's voice isn't sexy.
Well, she does have a sexy voice, doesn't she?
See?
But anyways, the range of emotions both of these characters go through are exactly how you're gonna feel throughout this adventure, and you're gonna be feeling them every step of the way.
What makes you even more emotionally invested in the game is the fact that you're in control of what Henry says with countless amounts of dialogue options.
Whether you're chilling in your tower, trekking through the wilderness, or investigating certain areas, you can almost always communicate with Delilah.
You can talk to her by either highlighting noteworthy objects and notifying her about them, or she will get a hold of you when you are simply walking around. During these moments, there will be many chances for you to choose what you want to say, and your options are pretty varied.
You can either be a wisecracky smartass, a protected man in control of his emotions, you can be downright obnoxious, or you could just simply be a prick. You even have the ability to just ignore everything she says completely if you truly wanted to.
Although, with a voice like that, I can't imagine anyone not wanting to talk to her.
Johnny, we get it, you like her voice.
Because of the ability to be in control of what you say, your relationship with her can be completely different from someone else's playthrough. And while your choices don't necessarily change the ending of the game, like most of Telltale's games, you determine what kind of person Henry is. And there wasn't any point in the game where we felt like we lost control of Henry as a character.
Speaking about that ending, Firewatch's ending is incredibly disappointing.
Oh yeah, the ending was bad.
Yeah, I mean, no spoilers for you guys like always, but while the ending definitely wasn't a cliffhanger, there was no real closure, and we both sat there staring at the screen thinking, okay, that's it? It was fairly disappointing, but if you take out the way the game ended, Firewatch's story is unforgettable and something fairly unique in video games, even considering the countless amount of walking simulators that have been made in recent years.
Our other big complaint is with the game's technical issues. Now, as far as we know, this game runs very well on PC. However, on PS4, which is what we reviewed it on, the game hiccups a lot.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that the frame rate is bad, but the amount of objects and textures in the environment that pop in and out every second is huge.
While you are walking, the game looks like a mess at times, and there were a few moments where we were taken out of the experience entirely.
During our playthrough, there were also two moments in particular where the game basically broke, halted our progress because certain actions and scripted events didn't register. We had to glitch the game in some ways just so we could continue through these roadblocks.
But even with these performance issues, Firewatch is a beautiful game. The camp you're set on feels like a real place and it feels alive. The wind that moves through the trees and everything around you is realistic. The cel-shaded visuals with the game's color palette is beautifully unique, and like every other game to come out recently, the lighting is phenomenal.
Unlike other games, Firewatch does a great job in provoking the feeling of time passing just because of the way lighting changes. It surprised me how realistically the sun sets and rises, and there were many moments in which the sun was what reminded me of how long we actually spent wandering around in the game.
The environmental storytelling is great too, as the objects you find in your room, random lockboxes, or just through other parts of the game contain fascinating stories that some other players, including ourselves, spend a lot of time trying to put together.
In case you may have forgotten, this is a video game, which means you'll actually be doing things in the game besides just admiring the game's story and beauty. In most ways, the game is fairly similar to other walking simulators, but through a couple unique additions, it feels more similar to going on a camping trip than simply wandering around. The game is relatively open world, and it's not hard getting lost like you would on a regular camping trip. That's why the game provides you with a map and a compass. That's pretty much it. Other pieces of equipment you'll need will come later in the game. I had to pull up my map constantly because, like in real life, I got distracted looking at so many pretty things that I completely forgot where I was. Fortunately and surprisingly, the compass turned out to be extremely useful, and because of Firewatch, I started contemplating how useful a compass would be throughout other aspects of my life. The objectives you receive in the game are all given to you by Delilah and change dramatically over time. Without spoiling anything for you, you're going to be doing some pretty messed up things. My only complaint about the actual gameplay is the amount of backtracking. You're going to be traversing through many paths multiple times, and many portions of the map are relatively similar to others. And if you stop paying attention to get lost, that just means you're going to be walking around even longer. But that's part of the job of Lookout House to deal with, and while it is a hassle, it does make the game a lot more immersive. And luckily, Delilah will contact you multiple times throughout the adventure, as the developers are aware that you will be spending a lot of time walking. In the end, the gameplay— What the hell was that?
Well, I kind of kidnapped Johnny, and I figured you needed another co-host, so... Hi!
Hey. Well, in the end, the gameplay does a fantastic job of making you feel like an actual lookout, and the many different secrets one can uncover encourage exploration, which makes the game feel a lot more like an adventure.
Sid, get the f*** out! Alright, I'm back. The game took us around 5 hours to reach the ending. Replay value consists of playing the game again while making different choices as to how you start the game, and the different types of relationships you can have with Delilah.
While there isn't much in the way of a core replay value, like we said before, Firewatch is a game you're going to want to revisit time and time again because of how great the story and dialogue is. Firewatch is a campfire story not meant for kids. It deals with mature themes and subject matter, yet it conveys its message through such a raw, truthful approach thanks to incredible dialogue, voice acting, and world design.
It's a classic tale that can be considered near timeless and perfect, if it wasn't for the abysmal ending.
The technical issues may get in your way to enjoy this game as much as you would wish, but the adventure is memorable and it needs to be experienced by as many gamers as possible.
Firewatch is a game anyone can enjoy, and authentically showcases the pros, the cons, and the truth about taking the role of such an important, understated job, being a lookout.
Firewatch receives an 8.75 out of 10. Thank you for watching,
And stay fresh!
and stay fresh!